Dear Lord, we come before you to ask for continued blessings on our great city. We ask you to watch over all our city's residents and employees. Grant this body the guidance to do what is right and the foresight to make decisions that will benefit our community into the future. Amen.
Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, thank you. I will ask the clerk to call the roll, please.
Councilmember Herniman.
Here.
Councilmember Kaler.
Here.
Councilmember Jones.
Here.
Councilmember Reesner.
Here.
Councilmember Snee.
Present.
Councilmember Thacker.
Here.
Councilmember Hayes.
Here.
Let the record show all 7 members of council are present. Minutes for December 18th, 2023, regular and committee of the whole meetings were distributed. Are there any questions, corrections, or deletions? Okay, seeing none, the minutes will stand approved as presented. We are now under committee reports. Finance Committee, Councilmember Reesner.
No report, Madam President.
Law and Community Planning, Councilmember Kaler.
No report, Madam President.
Thank you. Materials and Equipment, Councilmember Jones.
No report, Madam President.
Personnel and Labor Relations, Councilmember Hayes.
Thank you, Madam President. A Personnel and Labor Relations Committee meeting was held in City Chambers on January 8th, 2024, starting at 5:30 p.m. The purpose of this meeting was to discuss Mayor's request for legislation number 24-01, appointments to the 2024 City of Tiffin boards and commissions, and any other business to come before the committee. Attending were committee members John Hayes, Cheyenne Thacker, and John Kaler. Also attending were Mayor Lee Wilkinson, Law Director Zachary Fowler, City Administrator Nick Dutro, and council members Aaron Jones, Scott Hornerman, Kevin Reesner, and Dennis Snee. Councilman Hayes started the meeting by discussing the reappointments recommended by Mayor Wilkinson. No member of committee had comment on the reappointments. Law Director Fowler clarified that the original list of appointments included some individuals whose term has not expired. He also read the correct end of term dates for all appointments. The law director stated that corrections will be updated in the resolutions for the next city council meeting. The law director explained the appointments to the Local Income Tax Board of Review and whether action was needed to fill a vacancy on this board. The mayor confirmed that he would like his original appointment to serve at his discretion without an end date to the term. Councilman Hayes asked about the 3 new appointments that the 3 new appointments and the reason for their selection. Mayor Wilkinson told the committee the basis for his selections, and there was no further discussion. Councilwoman Thacker motioned to accept all of the mayor's appointments based on the changes discussed during the meeting. Councilman Kaler seconded. The motion carried on a vote of 3-0. In other business, City Administrator Nick Dutro discussed with the committee a recent incident involving deployment of Tiffin Police and a SWAT team. Nick made the committee aware that depending on the frequency of these overtime situations, there may be a request to increase the overtime budget, have that request brought to the Personnel and Labor Relations Committee sometime this year. With no other business to discuss, our meeting adjourned at 5:52 p.m. And that concludes my report.
Thank you. Any questions on the Personnel and Labor Relations Committee report? Okay, thank you. Recreation and Public Property, Councilmember Snee.
Madam President, no report at this time.
Okay, thank you. Street, Sidewalks, and Sewers, Councilmember Thacker.
Yes, I do have a report. A Street, Sidewalks, Sewers Committee meeting was held on January 8th, 2024 at 5:58 p.m. in council chambers. Attending were committee members Cheyenne Thacker, Aaron Jones, Scott Hornerman, Kevin Reesner, and Dennis Snee, along with Councilmember John Hayes, Law Director Zach Fowler, Mayor Lee Wilkinson, City Administrator Nick Dutro, and Public Works Superintendent Brandon Berner. Thacker called the meeting to order. The purpose of the meeting was to discuss Mayor's request for legislation 24-02, 03, 04, 05, and any other business that may come before them. Berner informed the committee of the need to participate in the ODOT road salt contract. The city has participated in the ODOT annual road salt bid for the past several years. ODOT provides a competitive rate to keep the cost of road salt relatively low for the city. Reesner motioned to have the law director prepare legislation authorizing participation in the ODOT road salt contracts awarded or the city administrator to competitively bid for the purchase of road salt. Jones seconded the motion. The motion passed 5-0. Berner informed the committee of his plan to work with the company to inventory the city's urban forest. This inventory would consist of all major trees owned by the city and give us better information on all trees. Dutro commented on the rich history of Tiffin being a tree city since 1981. Reesner motioned to have the law director prepare legislation authorizing and directing the city administrator to enter into an agreement with an environmental consulting firm to complete a full inventory of the city's urban forest and declaring an emergency. Jones seconded the motion. The motion passed 5-0. Berner informed the committee of sewer work that may need to be completed in the Eastland Park area. He would like to have a condition assessment performed on the area and hopefully have the area lined instead of a full replacement of the sewer. Jones asked about the life expectancy of the lining. Berner reported the lining is estimated to last about 50 to 75 years. Reesner motioned to have the law director prepare legislation. Snee seconded the motion. The motion passed 5-0. Berner informed the committee of several locations that will need updates to traffic signals, including the intersections of Circular Street and Melmore Street, West Perry Street and Clinton Avenue, and West Market Street and Hopewell Avenue. Horniman motioned to have the law director prepare the legislation. Reesner seconded the motion. The motion passed 5-0. Reesner informed the committee of a request by a constituent in the 3rd Ward to put in a street lamp near the constituent's home. Reesner will give a copy of the petition to the constituent to get signed by his neighbors. With no further business, the committee adjourned at 6:55 p.m.
Thank you. Any questions on the Street, Sidewalk, and Sewer Committee report? Thank you. And Economic Development and Downtown Planning, Councilmember Horniman.
No report, Madam President.
Thank you. Does anyone see the need to schedule a committee of the whole meeting? Okay, we are now under reports of the officers. His Honor Mayor Lee Wilkinson.
Thank you, Madam President. First, I need to withdraw a few appointments that were made at the last meeting due to the incorrect term ending dates. Tracy Stark to the Board of Health and Civil Service Commission, those appointments withdrawn. And George Fretz to the Park and Rec Board. So there's a lot happening this week. The Shop Small, Win Big project in collaboration with TSEP and the Chamber is still going on for the next 2 weeks. Stop in to make a purchase at any of the 22 locally owned participating businesses to register to win $500 cash. The drawing will be February 9th at noon on Facebook Live. It is Restaurant Week in Tiffin. I don't know if you read about that. Tiffin and Seneca County. Check out the details on how you can win some great prizes at the Destination Seneca County website or on their Facebook page. You may have noticed that the old BP station at the corner of Market and Circular is gone. It's been leveled. Thank you to Zoning Inspector Dan Brickner, who got the ball rolling on that. In the next week or so, Chief Chappell and the fire department will be doing some ice rescue training in the pond out by the willows. The weather is perfect for that. So don't be alarmed, but if you see the fire department out there pulling someone out of the water. There will be a ribbon cutting at the fire station number 1 to celebrate 130 years of service to the Tiffin community. That will be at 4 o'clock on February 1st. It's open to all. Hope to see you there. And this is Human Trafficking Awareness Month. And I do have a proclamation to present to the Sisters in Shelter. I believe that Jennifer Kinn and their executive director and some of the board members are present here. Whereas human trafficking is a public health issue and crime that exploits the most vulnerable among us, weakens the health and well-being of individuals, families, and communities across generations. And whereas more than 20 years since the passing of the Trafficking Victims Protection Act, human trafficking still exists, including forced or fraudulent recruitment, harboring, or transportation of people for labor or commercial sex. And whereas an estimated 27.6 million people are subjected to human trafficking globally, including cases of human trafficking reported in every U.S. state and territory. And whereas human trafficking can happen to anyone, but certain populations are disproportionately at risk, including people affected by abuse, violence, poverty, unstable living situations, social disconnection, or discrimination, And whereas people can be trafficked in person and online in industries such as restaurants, domestic work, construction, agriculture, and factories by strangers or by someone they know, including employers, partners, and family members. And whereas human trafficking can be prevented by building individual, community, and societal understandings and resilience, reducing social inequities, and addressing the conditions that contribute to exploitation. And whereas Sisters in Shelter is dedicated to ensuring anyone impacted by human trafficking can receive services that provide individualized care, a safe and secure place to reside, understanding of the impact of trauma, and incorporate cultural and linguistic needs. And whereas a successful response to human trafficking requires a coordinated community-wide effort, and whereas people who have experienced human trafficking have relevant perspectives and expertise, and Sisters in Shelter will engage and collaborate with them to develop and strengthen trafficking-related services and programs. And Sisters in Shelter will continue to carry forward all efforts of education, prevention, and awareness, as well as providing a safe house for adult female survivors of human trafficking in memory of founder Sister Mary Coolman. Therefore, be it resolved, I, Lee Wilkinson, Mayor of the City of Tiffin, do hereby proclaim January 2024 in the City of Tiffin as Human Trafficking Awareness Month on this 16th day of January in the year of our Lord, 2024. We should probably get someone to accept this. And
One says the general administration, the other says in the city hall.
25,000 for both.
Okay.
Okay. We also have Police Chief Pauly has an important announcement and celebration of one of our officers.
Thank you, Council. Several officers. So we got a few we're going to talk about tonight. So thank you for giving me the time. I'm going to take about 10 minutes of your time today to talk about these public servants. And I've used the comparison of trying to give recognition to public servants to that like NFL players that score a touchdown and decide just to hand the football off to the ref instead of any sort of fanfare or celebration. Gone are the days of Barry Sanders who would do that, or Nick Chubb who would do that, right? My experience with public servants is this. Most of them are type A personalities. They take over a room when they're in it, except the moment that they're about to be recognized for their good deeds, they curl up in a corner, they become extremely humble, and they don't want to be noticed at all. These folks here tonight carry out their duties without seeking public praise. Their commitment to maintaining law and order is akin to scoring a touchdown and simply handing the ball off to the ref. They prefer a low-key approach, focusing on the job rather than the spotlight of recognition. Well, that's too bad, because tonight I'm going to recognize them. It's important. I feel it's very important that City Council recognizes what these folks do for the city. It's important that the community sees what these folks do for the city. And so for that, we're going to recognize a few folks tonight. The first is perfect attendance. So I'd like to call up Officer Elizabeth Miller and Kaden Wuescher. To begin with, I'd like to emphasize a crucial and attainable skill for all members of the Tiffin Police Department: availability. Availability is the convergence of accessibility and consistency, making it one of the most significant abilities out there. Consistency, presence, and readiness are embodied in these officers. Being consistently present and ready every day is no small feat in the field of law enforcement, and it is essential to acknowledge this achievement. Officer Wuescher has received a Perfect Attendance Award for the second time, Officer Miller for a third time, and ironically enough, Officer Moore, who has a Perfect Attendance Award, or is going to be given one, could not be present tonight, but he has an impressive 11 times in a row of perfect attendance. So thank you and congratulations, Kaden and Liz. All right. Next up, can I have Marcus Summers, Officer Marcus Summers? And your fam, if they want to come in. Tonight, Officer Marcus Summers, stand up here, Marcus, is being presented with the Community Service Award. This is presented to an individual who surpasses the standard of expectation in delivering exceptional service to the community, either through a notable singular act or an ongoing commitment over an extended duration. Officer Summers has exemplified both aspects throughout 2023. A proactive officer, Officer Summers utilizes downtime between calls to actively pursue criminals within our community, leading the department in overall criminal arrests, warrant arrests, and driving under suspension arrests. Officer Summers has been instrumental in maintaining public safety. Officer Summers is particularly active in removing impaired drivers from the road and has also spearheaded the department's efforts in drug arrests and seizures this year. His outstanding contributions have earned recognition from peers and supervisors time and time again throughout 2023, acknowledging his commitment to providing quality service to the community with a compassionate approach to people. In addition to his impressive accomplishments, Officer Summers served as a field training officer for the department this past year as well. I take pride in having an individual of Officer Summers' caliber working for the Tiffin Police Department. Thank you and congratulations. This is Officer Summers' second Community Service Award. Next up is a Leadership Award, and I'd like to bring up Officer Brent Riley, please. Everyone present for you? Okay. Officer Riley consistently demonstrates exemplary leadership through both actions and behavior, actively promoting the principles of community policing and customer-oriented service on a daily basis. He serves as a sterling embodiment of police ethics and customer service standards. Officer Riley showcases strong leadership skills, ensuring diligent performance of duties and delivering exceptional service while overseeing shifts in his role as senior officer. Upon reviewing Officer Riley's quarterly assessments and annual evaluations, I consistently observe commendable qualities and more. His commitment extends beyond the call of duty, involving proactive participation in shift management, assistance with police cruiser maintenance, delivery of legal documents to the prosecutor's office, and maintaining an above-average level in officer-initiated calls for service, and citations and arrests. Notably, Officer Riley consistently goes above and beyond all expectations. Moreover, he is my go-to person when I require someone to lead a departmental tour or delivery of a presentation to the community. This is Officer Riley's first Police Leadership Award. Congratulations. Thank you. We have another leadership award. I'd like to bring up Lieutenant Jake DeMonte. Lieutenant Jake DeMonte exemplifies servant leadership in its truest form. I consistently witness his daily commitment to empowering the men and women of the patrol division, fostering their personal and professional growth. Lieutenant DeMonte possesses a rare skill of discerning crucial from the trivial, the urgent from the important, a quality that sets him apart. He is my go-to person for tackling significant projects and handling sensitive matters. Lieutenant DeMonte consistently provides valuable counsel, assisting me in navigating challenging decisions on a daily basis. Taking his role as patrol lieutenant seriously, Lieutenant DeMonte endeavors daily to elevate the performance of his division. This year, he undertook the monumental task of researching, creating, and implementing a comprehensive 3-week training program for the entire department. This initiative ensured that all Tiffin officers not only met but surpassed the state-mandated professional training requirements. Despite facing scheduling complexities, training criteria challenges, and various other issues, Lieutenant DeMonte tackled each obstacle head-on. The result was a program that stands as a model for law enforcement agencies across Ohio. Working along Lieutenant DeMonte for the betterment of the Tiffin Police Department and this community is a source of pride for me. I extend my gratitude to Lieutenant DeMonte and offer my heartfelt congratulations on this well-deserved recognition. This is Lieutenant DeMonte's first Police Leadership Award. Officer of the Year. I'd like to bring up Officer Andrew Stevens. Officer Stevens, congratulations to you on earning the title of Officer of the Year for 2023. This prestigious recognition is conferred annually after a meticulous selection process within our department. Your tireless efforts and steadfast commitment to the Tiffin Police Department and the local community warrant commendation. The command staff and sergeants consistently laud your work ethic, overall contributions to the community, and exceptional police service throughout the entirety of 2023. Your exemplary leadership sets a benchmark for all officers to aspire to. The dedication you demonstrate to maintaining a standard of excellence is evident in your day-to-day endeavors. Your diligence not only brings well-deserved recognition to yourself, but also reflects positively on the city of Tiffin and the police department. Officer Stevens, this marks your first award, a testament to your hard work, dedication, and professionalism. Well done. And last but not least, she could not be here tonight, but Dispatcher of the Year goes to Patty McIntyre. Congratulations to Dispatcher McIntyre on being named Dispatcher of the Year 2023. Dispatcher McIntyre's unwavering efforts and steadfast commitment to the Tiffin Police Department and local community merit sincere commendation. Throughout 2023, the command staff, sergeants, and dispatch supervisor consistently praised her exceptional work ethic, overall contributions to the community, and outstanding dispatch service. Her exemplary work serves as a shining example for all dispatchers to emulate, and her dedication to maintaining a standard of excellence is evident in her day-to-day endeavors. This marks Dispatcher Patty McIntyre's first Dispatcher of the Year award. Well done, Patty. That concludes my presentations. Thank you again for allowing me the time to present these public servants with recognition they deserve. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
And last but certainly not least, Aaron Montz is here to give his annual update for TSEP.
Thank you, Mayor, and thank you, members of council, Madam President. It's great to be back in these halls again. I guess we sure know how to clear out a room, don't we? I am going to pass a few things out. If I could, Liz, I don't know if I can hand these to you.
You sure can.
As well as some cards for everyone.
Thank you, sir.
So do apologize a little bit. We're in that transition period. So our annual meeting is coming up on the 13th of March. which is when our annual report goes out. So you're receiving last year's, but with so many new council members, we wanted to at least give the opportunity for you to see what the accomplishments were from the previous year, as well as see a lot of data in there. So we're working, all of that data will be updated to see what kind of trends are out there. So tonight's presentation is to kind of give you an overview without sharing too much of the finer details and announcements that will be made at our annual meeting this year. So the fact that you all are mostly new here, there's so many new faces, we figured we'd talk just a little bit more than we typically do about some of the things our organization does and who we are, but we promise we're not going to be here all night and bore you either with things. So the first slide, I know Liz is passing that out. Liz, you're totally fine. It's just a quick about me. Again, I was always taught you don't waste all of your time reading everything on the slides. You've got them also in front of you. Anyone, if you can't read the smaller printout that we gave you, we're happy to either email or print off a formal large copy. I think most everyone in the community knows me, so I'm not going to spend much time on that slide in order to preserve as much time as that you all have. So last year was our 40th anniversary of our organization. We were founded in 1983 as the economic development organization for the Tiffin-Seneca area. At that time, we were founded as SIDEC, which was the Seneca Industrial and Economic Development Corp. We are now TSEP, but we still are formally known as SIDEC. We had a great 40th anniversary celebration over this summer, where we even had a gentleman from the governor's office on behalf of the governor and Director Mahalik from the Department of Development present the organization with commendation. So it's not every year that an organization celebrates 40 years in existence and driving results like we have, but we were very proud of that moment. Something else, what our organization is key on is managing projects. So we are a project-based organization. We're not really an event planning group. We oversee and manage projects, especially economic and community development. We had our own little project internally last year, and that was the renovation of our office space in downtown Tiffin. So for those of you who don't recall, SIDEC long ago was at the spot that used to be Bailiwick's Coffee Company. That's Bailiwick's today. Then the organization moved into what is now a dentist's office just in front of Kiwanis Manor before you cross the bridge on Market. And then a few years ago, our current office space, 96 South Washington Street, was purchased with the intent to renovate and locate us in the heart of downtown Tiffin versus on the exterior. A very long story short, unfortunately, we all know about inflation and everything else that hit with the country, and we had a little bit of a money shortage on our renovation. We had about $300,000 that we had hoped to spend on the renovation. We all know we can't renovate a building, let alone a floor for that. And we had a price tag of about $750,000 to renovate our space. I know several of you were at our open house this fall that we had. The nice part was, we were able to come up with a good solution. We condoed the building, which to my understanding is the second building now in downtown Tiffin, which has been condoed. In doing so, it allowed us to recoup some funds to get the project done. We were able to do some value-added engineering, and at the end of the day, we were able to complete a very successful renovation of our office space, while at the same time cutting our organization's debt by more than 2/3. So I feel good about how that turned out. I know our board of directors does as well. It's always great when you're a small nonprofit like we are to make sure that we're not carrying substantial debt load. Along with that, our organization now has a record high number of memberships, which I think speaks volumes to the belief in our organization's mission of economic and community development and driving results over the last several years. So I'll go, Liz, next slide, please. Some of the key organizational initiatives, I'm not going to cover all of these, but very quickly a rundown on some of what these are. The SEDS, that is nearly complete. We worked with the Center for Regional Development at Bowling Green State University. I'll be talking to you all much more about the SEDS once it is completed, but that is our comprehensive economic development strategy. It's required to be done once every 10 years and at least updated once every 5. To make a long story short, there are potential for additional grant dollars that can be achieved. And you could also form an economic development district which we are actually in the process of discussing. My colleagues in several other counties in this area talking about a Firelands coalition of economic development agencies that can come together to support one another for projects, because far too often we don't meet requirements for large projects single-handedly. I know I see every lead that comes across my desk. A lot of them, we can't meet the need, whether it's for rail access, whether it's population density, whatever it may be. But if we form this coalition, one of the ways that we're already talking is the possibility for this group to work together, to recruit together larger manufacturers, data centers, that sort of thing to our region, because we're very often overlooked in this part of the state. We all know Cleveland, Columbus, and Cincinnati tends to drive things. My predecessor two folks ago, Rich Fote, used to always say that Columbus never has a recession. And I think that's more true than ever. And that's because the big cities do get more benefit because they have, of course, the population. They drive the local economy in the state of Ohio. However, this district, if we are successful at formulating things, we see that as being a real driver. And all of a sudden, the population becomes much higher that we can recruit. So we already work very closely with a lot of our economic development groups. Of course, the city of Fostoria is one of those. Renee Smith and I have developed a great relationship. I'll talk in a few minutes about one project that we're currently working on jointly. You know, a lot of the other things that we do. We had our housing study last year. We have downtown development, which you'll hear from Donna this evening. We handle communications and marketing for a lot of things, whether that is marketing industrial park land, which I'll talk about in a moment, our spec building that we had a completed project in last year, and others. We continue to lead that. Industrial park growth. I will talk about that in a few slides, as well as Carol Owen is going to discuss workforce development in a moment. And then Adam will talk a little bit about our entrepreneurship strategic plan. That unfortunately had to go on hold. One of the individuals who was leading that project on the consultant side, unfortunately, had a very serious health crisis last year. Her cancer diagnosis kept her from completing that. However, it has been completed. With the help of Adam and her, so we are rolling that out. We're currently in a comment period. Adam sent it out to the committee, so we're excited to get that plan rolling. And then we also host lots of educational opportunities for our members and businesses in the Tiffin community. In fact, we have an opportunity coming up tomorrow where folks from ODOT are coming in. We're bringing together a lot of business and government leaders to discuss the condition of Seneca County roadways, what improvements we would like to see, and continue to drive that conversation. We are one of the smallest population counties in this district for ODOT, so we have to continuously remind them that we do exist down here and that we need their funds as well to improve our streets. One of the primary leads that you'll see all the time for larger manufacturers is a 4-lane highway. We don't have one of those in Seneca County, probably not going to have one anytime soon. But there are things that we can do, such as the widening of berms and ditches and wider turn radius, and that sort of thing that can help us with some of these economic development projects. I mentioned industrial park growth. We have a good problem, but it's also a problem, and that is we're nearly out of manufacturing land in the city of Tiffin. With the sale of the previous spec building, we're essentially down to about 18 acres of developable land at Eagle Rock Park. When that sells, which could be in the near future, we will not have land available. So we currently have started the conversation with a family that owns land adjacent to Eagle Rock, and we're in the discussion phase right now on how that land can be developed for the future. They are working with a broker that, in regards to TSEP, we work with hand in hand. We have conversations several times a month over potential properties, and we're continuing to already market that site. It's nearly 100 acres divided by a road. It has great frontage, good access. There is plenty of water, sewer, and power capacity at the site. So it really is a great site for future manufacturing growth in Seneca County. So our pipeline. So we always talk about our project pipeline. This is what is currently ongoing in all of Seneca County projects that we oversee and manage. There are 55 projects between the team right now, and that potential investment income number is accurate. However, what I want to state with the caveat is we have one project that we are working on in cooperation with Fostoria Economic Development that is in rural Seneca County between Tiffin and Fostoria. We are one of 3 finalist sites for that project, and that project is potential of $1 billion of investment if it is secured. We are one of 3 finalists. We're under a non-disclosure agreement currently, so we're really not able to give details. But I can say if this is done, I think we all know that an investment of that size and capacity would certainly be the largest in the history that this county has seen for development. It is the energy sector. No, it is not a solar field or wind turbines. We've had that asked many times. It's certainly not that. But I know Renee Smith, myself have had several meetings on this topic. The state with Jobs Ohio and Regional Growth Partnership have been involved. It is truly a mega project for Seneca County. Will we land it for sure? I can't tell you, but I know we're one of 3 finalists. There is one other site in the state of Ohio. That is the project at the bottom that you see is Project Goose. That's one of our major projects that we're working on. Even totaling all that up, the 337, almost 338 million is still higher than last year's total. And we did have last year, so I know all of you council members are really new for the last year or so. Every year, communities such as Tiffin are ranked on their strength for large-scale economic development projects. This is the site selection rankings we talk about, where Tiffin's finished in the top 10% for more than a decade. I think about the only other ones that can brag that is Findlay, and they've continuously finished #1. Findlay talks about the Findlay formula, and they certainly know how to do things. And we try to emulate the programs that they do well, and things that we feel that we can improve upon, we certainly do. But we expect, nothing's a guarantee until the results come out. Last year, we still did finish in the top 10%. We were 44th out of almost 600 of these like-sized communities in the nation. This year, I can only give you my best guess, knowing how many projects we submitted and where things fell last year. I am extremely confident in saying that we will definitely be in the top 10% once again this year. In fact, I think we'll be in probably the top 15 to 20 total communities out of those almost 600 when the dust settles. What's really exciting for me, we're 2 months into this year, or excuse me, 2 weeks into this year. We have already we're within 1 project of what we had all of last year that are already in the works, that announcements will be coming out that will qualify for these rankings for this year when the rankings come out next year. So what we're hearing from our manufacturers in the few weeks that we've been out there doing business visits is that projects that for the last couple of years were put off, whether that was due to inflation, whether it was lack of finding workforce because of the pandemic and coming out of that, and you couldn't hire folks quick enough. We're hearing that they're pulling the trigger now on projects that they've put off for the last few years. So we already have 4 of them in the first 2 weeks of this year that will be submitted for rankings, that will have announcements coming out. It really is an exciting start to this year with projects on our end. Just to give you a quick flavor at the bottom, we have 5 active housing projects. Unfortunately, it's not 6. Our 6th project, which we felt really good about, unfortunately did the same math that many have done so far. And you just can't make it work right now. I know I've had many conversations with the mayor. We have had local developers, regional developers, nationwide developers. I just had a great call with someone who put in units in Tiffin a few years ago. And unfortunately, they really were about the most honest any housing developer has been so far. And they showed me their quick math that they came up with. And they're significantly short. It's a good problem because homes in Tiffin are not nearly as expensive as homes in Columbus and Cleveland and elsewhere. The downside of that is housing developers can't build them here and make the profit that they need. So we have a lot of interest. They just can't make the numbers work yet. So we're hopeful that things will change in the future. We still have 5 that are active. They range from a small of 12 units up to 50 plus that are potential projects. And for us to consider a project active, we have to give it at least a 25% chance of happening. If it doesn't, we still track it. We still work with those folks, but we don't report that and include that in an active project. A few other notes. Project Theron is another very active project. This one comes potential with about $150 million of investment, 160 jobs. We're working with this group that is actually an international company. They have identified Ohio as the next market that they would like to expand out in. We were hopeful to be their first facility in the state of Ohio if we were able to make the deal work. Unfortunately, they've selected to go to Columbus for their first facility. However, I know with us, they're still very interested. They've had conversations. The group has flown in already once and met with me and the team. We've had numerous calls with some of their potential suppliers for that business, so things are going extremely well. and we're excited by what that potentially may hold. And then Project Dublin will be an announcement that will come out late first quarter of this year. So that is one that is secured. It's one of the 4 that I've talked about that are already in the bucket that are successful this year. Dublin will be announced. It's about a 50,000 square foot facility and about a $3.5 million investment here in Tiffin. So we're exciting. The next slide, well, I guess you're already on, or you were on the last slide. The last one, those are just a few others. I'm not going to cover all of them. We code name everything. I guess a lot of you, with not being on council, this is done in every economic development group because a lot of what we talk about, we either have NDAs, so we can't come up here. We don't want to slip. We talk about the code names. We even talk about them mainly internally with code names because it's just the safest way to do it. One of the few that is up here that I can talk about what the project is Project Guitar. That is the Gibson Hotel project in downtown Tiffin, the boutique hotel. That is still on. We are in regular contact with them. We've tried through the Opportunity Clearinghouse for Entrepreneurship to get one more investor. We're literally to the point, if we have one more investor in that project, which is right now slated at about a $10 to $12 million construction cost, they're down to the last $500,000 to $750,000. If we can come up with one last investor, that project is ready to go. In fact, we're really kind of getting close to the deadline because they have historic tax credits that expire at the end of this year. So we really would like to get a final investor in that group, preferably someone locally. Their pro forma looks good. They have a hotel management company already lined up and under contract. The plans have been designed. It's literally shovel ready and ready to go. So we're continuing behind the scenes to put folks together. We had a banker day where we brought in all of our local banks to meet with them. So there's a lot of positive momentum around that. And I'm very confident that we're going to see that pop and move forward later this year. Always happy to talk about these projects and others one-on-one with any of you. But again, because we're at a public discussion, we're not going to get in too much depth, but happy to talk about these or any of our 48 other projects beyond these at any time with all of you. So with that, I've already talked far longer than I was going to promise that I was going to talk. So Nick, Mayor, you guys can beat me up later for that. I get long-winded, but it is great to be here in front of all of you. We cannot thank you for all of the support that you have given us and the organization over the last many years. So thank you. I'm going to turn things over to our operations manager, Corrina Eidt. I still did it. So she just got married last year. I still continuously call her Corrina Eidt, and she's going to come up and talk much more briefly than I do at some of the things that she's handling in our office. Thank you.
Sorry, I don't think I could have reached that. He always makes it hard to follow. Liz, if you don't mind, the next slide. All right, so as Aaron mentioned, there are many new faces on council. So just briefly, I am Corrina Eidt, the operations manager for TSEP. I moved to the Tiffin area in 2018. I graduated from TU in 2021. Prior to TSEP, I served as an intern for CASA of Seneca, Sandusky, and Wyandotte counties. And then after the completion of my internship, I worked at First Step, a center for domestic violence services. I joined TSEP in July of 2021, and I handle all of the internal operations as well as the Sandusky County, Seneca County, City of Tiffin Port Authority. Next slide, please. Just some operational highlights. I'm working with a team to streamline a lot of our internal operational functions. We are decreasing a lot of our subscriptions, working in a more integrated system, and we are also implementing QuickBooks Online. As you can see from this picture, we are setting up a lot of business retention and expansion meetings, and I'm setting up a lot of those for Aaron and Adam. And then last year, we adopted a new website. We also had 2 incredible interns, Noah Paris and Tim Bucky. They worked really hard to interview each of our members and create some write-ups and take some outstanding photos. So with that, I'm working with our web designer to put those on our website along with a clickable link that would take you from our website to each of those member business websites. All right, so as I mentioned, I also am the point of contact and the secretary for the Sandusky County, Seneca County, City of Tiffin Port Authority, or the SSTPA. So some of you may not realize, we have a short rail line with over 26 miles of trackage that runs from Tiffin to Woodville. That's the Northern and Ohio Western Railroad, also known as the NOW. We do not operate the track. That's operated by Omnitracks, which is one of the largest short rail line operators in North America. Our trackage sees around 1,500 to 2,000 carloads per year. And as I put on the slide, you can see the shippers that are located within the city of Tiffin. Next slide. This slide just kind of goes over the car counts from 2022 and 2023. I also put the earned income for 2023 just so you can kind of get an idea of what the trackage earns. And then that is the budgeted car count for 2024. And then last but not least, the Port Authority is preparing for a major track project. This will be major updates to the entire trackage. As you can see, it's really old and outdated. It needs a lot of maintenance to the entire thing. So once this project is completed, it will be roughly around $6 million in investment. The Port Authority has been working with the Ohio Rail Development Commission and the NOW to get some federal funding for that. However, the Port Authority will also be investing a significant amount of funding themselves. After a while, the Ohio Rail Development Commission will be reaching out and asking for our help to reach out to public officials and parties that are interested for letters of support for that funding. Once the project is ready, if all goes to plan, it will start in 2026. It will take 3 months for construction and 3 to 6 months closeout. The plan is for the NOW to be a Class 2 operation, and this would provide greater efficiencies toward the interchanges in Tiffin. And that is all for my update. I'm going to pass it on to Adam.
All right, good evening, everyone. Perfect. So quickly about myself. I graduated from the College of Worcester in 2019 with a degree in poli-sci and international relations. Went directly from there to work for the Wexner Medical Center Office of External Relations, where I worked on the opioid communication side of things, trying to tell people what OSU was trying to do to resolve and address the opioid epidemic. My dream job right out of school was to go work in the Ohio legislature. I got that opportunity fairly quickly, and in 2019 joined the Ohio Senate, working for the then state senator for this area, Dave Burke. Went from his office into State Senator Bill Reineke's office, and eventually, through Bill Reineke, really fell in love again with Tiffin, which is where my family is from, and decided to come work at TSEP in 2022. At TSEP, I just got a promotion. They changed my title to development manager. So I handle our community development as well as our rural development and entrepreneurship efforts. Next slide. So this is a brief overview of the current projects that I have in the pipeline. It's about $25 million in new investment. 3 of them are housing projects, 8 of them are in rural development space, and 5 are our entrepreneurial projects, which includes the Tiffin-Seneca Entrepreneurial Opportunity Clearinghouse, which I'll talk a little bit more about later on. First, let's start talking about CDBG. I know that in the past it has been one of this body's absolute favorite topic. It's very riveting. We are currently working on the Program Year 2022 project that is with Seneca County Common Ground and their community kitchen project, currently taking place in its pilot phase at 45 South Washington Street, so the old Fat Cake space, which was referenced earlier in regards to a liquor permit, I believe. From there, we are kind of working on making sure that we're hitting those targets that are set out within the grant agreement, and we're on track to do so with that. But in order to make sure that we're doing that and beating those targets, we are ensuring a stronger focus on targeted outreach to our low to moderate income individuals. So that's what's going on. That grant will need to be closed out by October 31st of this year. And once that happens, we will then, in about 2 years, go through an audit on the Program Year 2022 grant. Moving on then to Program Year 2024. This is quickly approaching. We received our first email from the Office of Community Investment, I believe last week, outlining kind of their tentative schedule for what they see and what that program is going to look like. It is once again going to be a $150,000 allocation, $120,000 of which goes towards the actual project cost. Right now, I know the previous administration had been looking at the Applejack Park Improvements Project as the CDBG target, and that fits perfectly within CDBG. It's in a low to moderate income census block and is therefore area qualified. As part of that process, Bryce Kuhn, your Parks Director, was kind enough to submit the Applejack project through the Dream Big Tiffin project. Dream Big Tiffin is our community development sourcing and prioritization vehicle. We use that to bolster our community development implementation strategy, which is required for the community development block grant. Just to make you aware of a couple deadlines that are quickly approaching as we move through this process. The tentative application deadline is on June 12th. Once that is firmed up, I will, of course, let the mayor and Nick know. We are then going to be moving into the public meeting requirements. Those will be taking place in either late March or early April. From there, once the project is selected, there will need to be enabling legislation passed. In the past, what this that enabling legislation is basically the city of Tiffin and the Tiffin-Seneca Economic Partnership are authorized to apply for and manage these funds through the Office of Community Investment, which is the new name for the Office of Community Development. So that will need to be happening probably around May or need to be passed prior to that June 12th deadline. Of course, I will have more information for you and will likely be boring you more with community development block grant stuff here in the near future. So the next topic, of course, on our community development front is an ongoing project. This is the Rainbow Muffler Brownfield site. You likely know it as the Ralph's parking lot or the 0 North Washington Street parking lot. This has been an ongoing project for quite some time. TSEP holds that parking lot in trust basically for the city of Tiffin and is working to get it cleared of all contamination or at least signed off on that, yes, it is clean. As part of that, we have signed the paperwork and it is going for approval to Buster currently. That was sent in last week. And one of the things that you may have noticed was there was a lot of cones in there over the past month or so. That was a sinkhole repair. A sinkhole formed around one of the boring wells. CT Consultants, who has been working on that project, or is the contractor on that project, went out, filled that in December, and that is now repaired. We've been told to expect a no further action letter or simply the installation of a permanent monitoring well on site, and should have more information for you on that soon. Next slide, please. Next, I said I'd talk about entrepreneurship a little bit, so here we go. First off, the strategic plan. This has been a long-standing priority for TSEP, but as Aaron mentioned, one of the individuals working for us with our resource partner who is actually doing the writing on that plan had some health troubles. And so we've been working with her and finally have a very solid draft, I think, done and ready for review that has been sent out to the Entrepreneurship Committee. And they have until February 2nd to provide feedback on that plan. We will then go through another quick drafting process on that. I fully expect this to be done before that June 2024 date, but that's the date that, we're certain it will be done by then. Next is the clearinghouse. This is one of our flagship programs for entrepreneurship. It is the beginning of the year, and this is when we get the most inquiries. People are interested in either moving on from their business or starting a new business. So right now, we are very busy fielding phone calls trying to figure out, is this a good fit for the clearinghouse? For those of you who are unaware, the clearinghouse is where we take a business that is for sale and try and pass it on to a new person. It's part of a succession planning process for us. It ensures that we are able to actually retain smaller businesses here in the community rather than, them just going away. And then, quick note, you may have seen recently that a somewhat similar sounding business exchange has opened up in Crawford County. Obviously, David Zach, who worked here in Seneca County before, moved on to Crawford County. He found this program to be successful enough that he took it with him to Crawford County. We're very happy to be running this program. We're very excited that it works as well as it does, and at least, gives us a chance to maintain some new legacy businesses here in town. And then finally, my final slide, is rural development. We had a recent announcement you may have seen. Price Manufacturing, one of our small manufacturers outside of Bloomville, recently announced the completion of a 2,400 square foot expansion to their facility. In addition to that brand new concrete floor, new walls, new ceilings, and of course, new space, they added 2 additional machines and an overhead crane. That's going to allow them to expand their operations and ensure that they are providing a quality product to their customers. They hope to expand again in the future. We're going to be keeping a close eye on them and working with them in the future. And a couple active projects in the rural development sphere is Project Curtain. That's a $300,000 investment into a rural business. Project Ramjet, Project Uplift, and Project Scone. Project Uplift is actually a housing project that would likely be located on the outskirts of Tiffin for the moment and would hopefully someday be annexed in. So when Aaron says that housing is one of our primary priorities, he means that this is one of the, I would say this project has about a 50-50 shot of making it through and is focused primarily on workforce housing. So ensuring that we have housing that is affordable to many of the people here in our community and those new people who may want to move to a community like Tiffin. Other than that, that is my final slide. I will now hand it off to Carol, who will talk about workforce development.
Good evening. If we go to the next slide, a little bit about myself. So I graduated from Ohio Northern. I am a lifelong Seneca County resident. I actually started my career with Sandusky County Job and Family Services while I was in college. I worked for 2 years processing public assistance applications for migrant families. Didn't know I wasn't really sure what I wanted to do after college, went back for the summer, and here I am. So I spent about 17 years in Sandusky County, and in March I'll have completed my 18th year in Seneca County. My most recent role is business services consultant. I work with employers. I've been in that role since October of 2014. So in that role, I work closely with TSEP. When you do economic development, you always hear workforce development. Do you have the workforce to support the new project? So I work closely with them, going on their business retention expansion visits, just in general, anything to do with workforce and however I can assist them the best. Next slide. So a couple things, I also work with developing the workforce. One of the ways we can do that is through apprenticeships. That's a proven model for advancing and upskilling your workforce. It does increase retention for the workforce. And Seneca County is currently part of the Greater Ohio Workforce Board, and they can be a sponsor of apprenticeships. So what that means for local employers is that they still have control over the program. They design the program, but the Workforce Board, through me, basically does all the administrative work. So it does save them a lot of time. We've had 7 completers since June of 2018. We had a most recent enrollment in September of 2023. Last week, I submitted paperwork for one to get his certificate of completion of apprenticeship, and we currently have 11 others active. So it's a very good program, continuing to work with those. The Manufacturing Showcase is another way that I try to develop workforce. The Manufacturing Showcase is held every October. It's for freshmen. We have about 650 freshmen every year from 10 local schools, typically about 18 unique employers. And we work with them, let's see, skill sets. So we work with them on employability, lean productivity, manufacturing, skilled trades, and supply chain. So the students go through 6 different tables, and they do a hands-on activity at each of the tables. Might be hard to see in the picture, but that's a Marewood, and they're doing a measuring activity using algebra that the students learn in their freshman year. So applying that, how do they use, when students say, how am I ever going to use this? This is one way we can show them that they will use that, and they will use it at a local manufacturer. Okay. Now, I'm told this probably you won't be able to hear the audio, but we are getting some we have virtual reality headsets. We have 5 of them. We're getting trained January 29th, and then after that, we'll be able to use those. But I still wanted to, even without the audio, wanted you to see some of the simulations that students will see when they're using this. This will be a great tool for career exploration. So you can see they've got medical, they've got healthcare, there's some telecommunications, electrician, a lot of different simulations that we can use with the students. Very realistic. They'll put the headsets on. There's a moderator who tells them what to do, gives them feedback as they do the activities. You can go ahead and skip past that then. Okay, and just some statistics for last year. Last year I had 379 job orders. Those could be for multiple positions. First-time customers, I had 29. The majority of those were for employers with 50 employees or less. We've made a lot of reimbursements to employers for assisting them with training the workforce. Those are numbers for new hires. Incumbent worker training is for those that have been with the company at least 6 months. Now, some other figures, there are some other programs, so I will refer an employer to another program if they can get more benefit from that program. You may not have heard of Tech Cred. That's a state program that reimburses $2,000 per credential. There's around every other month. That started since, let's see. Since 2019, $800,000 for 700 credentials, and that's for just 16 local employers. So it's a great program. My Incumbent Worker Training will reimburse 50% of the cost. By referring employers to Tech Cred, they can get that full cost paid. Their employees get credentials, they upskill. It's a win-win for everyone. GLCAP currently has a program, Work Advance. They can also provide some training. A local employer contacted me about some training. I referred them actually to that program, and they have 7 employees that were certified in NIMS, and they're looking at doing some more training. Again, rather than using Incumbent Worker Training, they were able to get it paid for completely using a different program. Okay, and next I will turn it over to Donna.
Thank you, Carol. My name is Donna Gross, and I am the Downtown Tiffin Main Street Manager. I attended Heidelberg University a couple of decades ago, graduated with a few degrees in business administration and public relations. I moved back here to Tiffin in 2019 when I relocated my fitness business called Releve Bar Studio. And then last February, at the end of February, I took this position, and I'm very happy to be here. Next slide. I just wanted to explain a little bit about the National Main Street Program. So Main Street America leads a movement committed to strengthening communities throughout a preservation-based economic development in order to help historic downtowns and neighborhoods and commercial districts, and they've been doing that for over 40 years. Downtown Tiffin, through our host, Heritage Ohio, became a Main Street in 2015. There is a 4-point framework that you can see that small diagram up in that right-hand corner that has components that help communities thrive and grow. And they are economic development, design, promotions, and organization. Our 4 downtown committees represent each of these 4 points, and we meet monthly and implement our transformation strategy, which is to make downtown Tiffin a place to live and to thrive. Next slide. All right, first comes our Business Enhancement Committee, and we meet on the 3rd Tuesday of each month, and we plan the downtown trivia nights, merchant meeting educations, and do all of our business insight calls. Last year, we held 11 trivia nights with over 500 people participating and visiting various locations throughout downtown. Last week, we were at the Eagles, and we had 80 people that came to trivia night, so that was one of our record crowds. The merchant meetings are held on the 2nd Monday of each month, and this committee plans educational training by inviting special guests to do different instructions such as tax tips, social media help, business fraud, and more. Next month, we will be focusing on some customer service skills at our merchant meeting. Each committee member is responsible for calling or meeting with 10 or plus businesses twice a year to touch base and keep a connection with our Main Street program. In 2023, we had 10 new businesses open in downtown Tiffin, 3 relocated to our downtown area, 1 business had an expansion, and 2 had an ownership transfer. Coming soon, we will have Wild Bunch Wellness Bar, which will be opening next to Reno's. It used to be the old Duck Inn. And then something that hit social media today and a press release is a new restaurant in the Laird Building called The Turntable. We'll be opening this spring. Next slide. Our design committee, the second committee, meets on the 4th Tuesday of each month to discuss and plan and implement ways to improve the aesthetic look of our downtown area. A new component of our monthly cleanups this year was something called the Litter League, which was a contest where teams would compete to see who would bring in the most trash in weight. And this year we had 164 volunteers who collected over 900 pounds of trash and over 95 leaf bags. It's a beautiful addition to our downtown and really encourages people to participate and volunteer. Another addition to the look of our downtown was spearheaded by volunteers for our Operation Hallmark $27,000 was donated by multiple community members and organizations, including ours, to install over 82,000 new holiday lights, which are still shining bright, and I'm so glad to see them. We also have some future projects going on with our design committee. We are working on a 3M product that is non-invasive to outdoor brick walls to have a mural, and also working with the city on some parking lot concepts for improving the aesthetics and functionality. Next slide. Although this is not part of our design committee, I did want to touch a little bit about our facade enhancement grant program that we continue, which is such a large part of the Tiffin's restoration efforts and our revitalization. In 2023, we had 12 projects that were approved and an overall investment of over $230,000 in grand total. Since 2014, there have been $2.7 million invested in this. And that is such a tremendous return on investment, and what an amazing project this is and continues to be for our downtown area. Next slide. Our marketing committee meets on the second Tuesday of each month, and the members use their combined skills to promote downtown events throughout the year. We had 9 Third Thursdays, a Kris Kringle marked, a free holiday movie at the Ritz, and 2 window decorating contests, which all brought thousands of residents and visitors to eat, shop, and play in downtown Tiffin. Our diligent social media posts and executed press releases brought a 433% increase in Facebook visits and featured stories on both local radio and television stations. Just today, we sent out a press release and posted on social media about the new restaurant, The Turntable, and as of 6 o'clock today, we had almost 15,000 views, so that was just today. And next slide. Last but not least, this is our Downtown Development Committee. This board meets on the first Thursday of every month to unify the community vision and broad community engagement. The Downtown Tiffin Transformation Strategy is at the forefront and of planning all of these events, including the St. Patty's Day 5K, the downtown banners, the annual summit celebration and community awards, and our annual visit to another Main Street community. In 2023, last August, our board visited Vermillion, and it was a nice way to network with another Main Street community. Each year, our board submits nominations to an annual Heritage Ohio conference, and last October, we were awarded an honorable mention for the Best Ohio Main Street Committee Project, the Kris Kringle Marked. And next slide. Our downtown revitalization would not be possible without all of our volunteers, our committees, and community members. In 2023, over 1,100 hours were donated in volunteer efforts. And we are just so appreciative for everyone that helps out and continues to make downtown Tiffin an amazing place to live and be. And that concludes my portion.
Okay, again, we thank you all for your time this evening. I do apologize for the length. We'll never be this long again unless you have this kind of a turnover with council, but we felt it was better to give you all of the information that you may need and a little bit more about us and our roles in the organization. In the future, we will be more brief unless you request it to be longer, but we really do thank you for having us here this evening. And please mark your calendars for the 13th of March. 5:30 p.m. is our annual meeting. We have the location set internally. We'll get a save the date out later this week. I don't want to say it yet because we have to let the others know who were in the running to host our annual meeting and didn't get it. We want to let them know first. But March 13th, 5:30 p.m. annual meeting. You're all invited. Please come celebrate all the successes of 2023 with us and look forward to 2024. Thank you.
Thank you.
And that concludes my report, Madam President.
Is that all? Okay. Thank you. Clerk of Council, Ann Forrest.
I'll be brief, no report, Madam.
Okay, thank you. Director of Finance, Kathy Kaufman.
Thank you, Madam President. I have a couple of things tonight. I just wanted to briefly touch on a couple of the ordinances that we're going to be reading later this evening. The one I wanted to talk about was had to do with the traffic lights, which was part of the street, sidewalk, and sewers report tonight. And I just wanted to say that the budget portion of that ordinance is so that we can get parts ordered for those traffic lights like as soon as possible, because we want to make sure that we can get those repaired. So that's why we're asking for suspension. I think it's 24-6. That is to record the investment fees that we're going to be having, because we are, and I know a lot of you are new, but we are working with an investment advisor. And at the time that I did the budget last year, I wasn't sure exactly how much money we wanted to invest. We're trying to make sure that the money that we have works better for us so that we can earn more interest than we have been. So I didn't really know how much I was going to invest and what those fees would be. So I didn't want to put more in the budget than I thought I needed. So now I have come up with a figure, and I would like to have that suspended so that I can record the fees in the month that they actually happen. So we will be having fees monthly for this. And I want to make sure that I can record January's fees in January. So that's why I'm requesting suspension for that one. And then the last one that I wanted to talk about, we had an insurance reimbursement come in for the street department, and they had some damage to the John Deere tractor. So we would like to appropriate those fees to help the street department pay for the repairs to that tractor. And then we had some donations from the Tiffin and vets for the Park and Recreation Department. We would just like to get those funds appropriated as soon as possible so that we can put them to good use. Are there any questions about any of that?
Makes sense. Thank you.
Okay. Then I would like to give you the financial report for the month of December. Total receipts for the month were $6,223,885.49. Total expenses for the month were $6,636,013.99. The general fund unencumbered balance is $5,446,060.23. Income tax receipts for December 2023 were $1,076,042.56. The total annual increase in income tax collections for December 2023 when compared to December 2022 was $95,833.95. Year-to-date income tax receipts were up 1.22% for the year. The portion of income tax receipts that was transferred into Fund 215 for public streets for December was $132,337.39. The unexpended balance for all funds was $38,398,390.99, which is the same as the bank balances for the same time period. And that concludes my report.
Thank you. Councilmember Reesner.
I move to accept the Finance Director's report for the month ending December 31, 2023.
And the bank reconciliation.
And bank reconciliation, too.
Thank you. There's a motion to accept the Finance Director's report for the month of December and bank reconciliation. Is there a second? Councilmember Horniman.
I'll second that, Madam President.
Thank you. There's a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? Great. Seeing none. All in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. And the motion carries. Thank you, Kathy. Director of Law, Zach Fowler.
No report, Madam President.
Thank you. We are now under written communications.
We have Mayor's request for legislation number 2406, appointment to the Shade Tree and Beautification Commission.
Thank you. Mayor's request for legislation number 24-6 will be referred to the Personnel and Labor Relations Committee.
Mayor's request for legislation number 24-07, authorization to solicit request for quote of engineer services.
Mayor's request for legislation 24-7 will be referred to the Street, Sidewalks, and Sewers Committee.
Mayor's request for legislation number 24-08, general consulting services.
Mayor's request for legislation 24-8 will also be referred to the Street, Sidewalks, and Sewers Committee.
Mayor's request for legislation number 24-09, urban waters federal partnership authorization.
Mayor's request for legislation number 24-9 will be referred to the Street, Sidewalks, and Sewers Committee.
Finance Director's request for legislation number F24-1 to amend the 2024 Budget Ordinance 23-1 24-94 to appropriate funds into the Finance Professional Services budget.
Finance Director's request for legislation F24-1 is prepared tonight as ordinance 24-6.
Finance Director's request for legislation number F24-2 to amend the 2024 budget ordinance 23-94 to appropriate funds into the capital improvement budget and to approve a transfer from the general fund to the capital improvement fund.
Finance Director's request for legislation number F24-2 is prepared tonight as ordinance 24-2.
Finance Director's request for legislation number F24-3 to amend the 2024 budget ordinance 23-94 to appropriate funds into the street and park budgets.
Finance Director's request for legislation number F24-3 is prepared tonight as ordinance 24-7.
Finance Director's request for legislation number F24-4 to amend the 2024 budget ordinance 23-94 to appropriate funds into the 0.25% income tax public streets budget and to approve a transfer from the 0.25 income tax public streets fund to the OPWC Lone Street Paving Fund.
Finance Director's request for legislation number F24-4 is prepared tonight as ordinance 24-8.
Finance Director's request for legislation number 24-5 to amend the 2024 budget ordinance 23-94 to appropriate funds into the general administration budget.
Finance Director's request for legislation number F24-5 is prepared tonight as ordinance 24-9.
Finance Director's request for legislation number F24-6 to amend the 2024 budget ordinance 23-94 to appropriate funds into the City Hall budget.
Finance Director's request for legislation number F24-6 is prepared tonight as ordinance 24-10.
And we have Finance Director's letter dated January 3rd, 2024 regarding unclaimed funds written off from 2022.
This letter will be held on file in the clerk's office.
And there is also notice from the Ohio Division of Liquor Control for a liquor permit transfer from Fat Cakes LLC to Coastal Swing 3 LLC.
This will be referred to the Street, Sidewalks, and Sewers Committee.
And that concludes the written ordinances.
Thank you. We are now under oral communications. Anyone wishing to address council may step to the podium, sign in, and direct their questions to myself. All right. We are now under motions. Are there any motions this evening? Councilmember Hayes.
I motion that resolution 2024-4 through 2024-21 be read and voted on as one.
Thank you. There is a motion for resolutions 24-4 through 24-21 be read as well as voted on as one. Is there a second? Councilmember Reesner.
I'll second the motion, Madam President.
Thank you. There's a motion and a second. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. The motion carries. Any other motions this evening? We are now under resolutions and ordinances.
Resolution number 2024-4, a resolution approving mayor's reappointment of Dennis Berger to serve a 3-year term on the Americans with Disabilities Act ADA Advisory Committee from January 1st, 2024 until December 31st, 2026. Resolution number 2024-5, introduced by John Hayes, a resolution approving mayor's reappointment of Dan Distel to serve a 3-year term on the Americans with Disabilities Act ADA Advisory Committee from January 1st, 2024 until December 31st, 2026. Resolution number 2024-6, introduced by John Hayes, a resolution approving mayor's reappointment of Robert Mack Jr. to serve a 3-year term on the Architectural Board of Review from January 1st, 2024 until December 31st, 2026. Resolution number 2024-7, introduced by John Hayes, a resolution approving mayor's reappointment of Tony Consolo to serve a 3-year term on the Architectural Board of Review from January 1st, 2024 until December 31st, 2026. Resolution number 2024-8, introduced by John Hayes, a resolution approving mayor's reappointment of Jessica Worth to serve a 3-year term on the Architectural Board of Review from January 1st, 2024 until December 31st, 2026. Resolution number 2024-9, introduced by John Hayes, a resolution approving mayor's appointment of Alan McKenzie to serve an unexpired term on the Civil Service Commission from the effective date of this resolution until December 31st, 2025. Resolution number 2024-10, introduced by John Hayes, a resolution approving mayor's reappointment of Nancy Bailey to serve a 3-year term on the Fair Housing Board from January 1st, 2024 until December 31st, 2026. Resolution number 2024-11, introduced by John Hayes, a resolution approving mayor's reappointment of Wayne Wax to serve a 2-year term on the Investment Advisory Committee from January 1st, 2024 until December 31st, 2025. Resolution number 2024-12, introduced by John Hayes, a resolution approving mayor's reappointment of Joanne King to serve a 2-year term on the Investment Advisory Committee from January 1st, 2024 until December 31st, 2025. Resolution number 2024-13, introduced by John Hayes, a resolution approving mayor's reappointment of Susan E. Payne to serve a 5-year term on the Julia M. Weller Memorial Commission from January 1st, 2024 until December 31st, 2028. Resolution number 2024-14, a resolution approving, introduced by John Hayes, a resolution approving mayor's reappointment of James Boroff to serve a term on the local board of tax review from the effective date of this resolution. Resolution number 2024-15, introduced by John Hayes, a resolution approving mayor's reappointment of Randy Schwartz to serve a 4-year term on the Planning Commission from January 1st, 2024 until December 31st, 2027. Resolution number 2024-16, introduced by John Hayes, a resolution approving mayor's appointment of Victor Perez to serve a 6-year term on the Sewer Review Board from January 1st, 2024 until December 31st, 2029. Resolution number 2024-17, introduced by John Hayes, a resolution approving mayor's reappointment of Michael Pinkston to serve a 5-year term on the Tree Commission from January 1st, 2024 until December 31st, 2028. Resolution number 2024-18, introduced by John Hayes, a resolution approving mayor's appointment of Christopher Beidelshees to serve a 3-year term on the Tiffin Municipal Arts Commission from January 1st, 2024 until December 31st, 2026. Resolution number 2024-19, introduced by John Hayes, a resolution approving mayor's reappointment of Nick Consolo to serve a 3-year term on the Tiffin Municipal Arts Commission from January 1st, 2024 until December 31st, 2026. Resolution number 2024-20, introduced by John Hayes, a resolution approving mayor's reappointment of Victor Perez to serve a 4-year term on the Tiffin Recreation and Beautification Fund Board from the effective date of this resolution until December 31st, 2027. And resolution number 2024-21, introduced by John Hayes, a resolution appointing mayor's reappointment of Timothy Hopple to serve a 4-year term on the Tiffin Recreation and Beautification Fund Board from the effective date of this resolution until December 31st, 2027.
And you really jumped right in. All right, so this is the first reading of Resolution 24-4 through 24-21. Councilmember Hayes.
Motion to pass Resolution 24-4 through Resolution 24-21.
Thank you. There's a motion for passage of Resolutions 24-4 through 24-21. Is there a second? Councilmember Thacker.
I'll second that motion.
Thank you. There's a motion and a second. Any discussion? Okay, seeing none, we will now vote on the passage.
1 second, please. Okay. Councilmember Herniman.
Yes.
Kaler.
Yes.
Jones.
Yes.
Reesner.
Yes.
Snee.
Yes.
Thacker.
Yes.
And Hayes.
Yes.
Resolutions 24-4 through 24-21 pass with a vote of 7-0.
Ordinance number 2024-2, introduced by Cheyenne Thacker. An ordinance authorizing and directing the city administrator to prepare plans and specifications, advertise for and receive bids, and recommend and enter into a contract to purchase traffic signal equipment, amending 2024 Budget Ordinance 23-94 to pay for the expense and declaring an emergency.
Thank you. This is the first reading of ordinance 24-2. Councilmember Thacker.
I move for immediate passage of ordinance 24-2, suspending council's 3 reading rule.
Thank you. There's a motion for immediate passage and suspension of council's 3 reading rule for ordinance 24-2. Is there a second? Councilmember Jones.
I second the motion.
Thank you. There's a motion and a second. Any discussion? Seeing none, we'll first vote on the suspension.
Councilmember Herniman.
Yes.
Kaler.
Yes.
Jones.
Yes.
Reesner.
Yes.
Snee.
Yes.
Thacker.
Yes.
And Hayes.
Yes.
Suspension passes with a vote of 7-0. We'll now vote on the emergency.
Councilmember Herniman.
Yes.
Kaler.
Yes.
Jones.
Yes.
Reesner.
Yes.
Snee.
Yes.
Thacker.
Yes.
And Hayes.
Yes.
Emergency passes with a vote of 7-0. We'll now vote on the passage.
Councilmember Herniman.
Yes.
Kaler.
Yes.
Jones.
Yes.
Reesner.
Yes.
Snee.
Yes.
Thacker.
Yes.
And Hayes.
Yes.
Ordinance 24-2 passes with a vote of 7-0.
Ordinance number 2024-3, introduced by Cheyenne Thacker, an ordinance authorizing and directing the city administrator to enter into an agreement with an environmental consulting firm to complete a full inventory of the city's urban forest and declaring an emergency.
Thank you. This is the first reading of ordinance 24-3. Councilmember Thacker.
I move for immediate passage of ordinance 2024-3, suspending council's 3 reading rule.
Thank you. There is a motion for suspension of council's 3 reading rule and immediate passage of ordinance 24-3. Is there a second? Councilmember Snee.
I second.
Thank you. Thank you. There's a motion and a second. Any discussion? Councilmember Reesner.
Just very optimistic. This is going to streamline the tree inventory in the city. There's a lot of memory, and it's not on paper, and this will get it inventoried properly for their department to work more efficiently.
Thank you. Is there any other discussion? Okay, seeing none, we'll first vote on the suspension.
Councilmember Herniman.
Yes.
Kaler.
Yes.
Jones.
Yes.
Reesner.
Yes.
Snee.
Yes.
Thacker.
Yes.
And Hayes.
Yes.
Suspension passes with a vote of 7-0. We'll now vote on the emergency.
Councilmember Herniman.
Yes.
Kaler.
Yes.
Jones.
Yes.
Reesner.
Yes.
Snee.
Yes.
Thacker.
Yes.
And Hayes.
Yes.
Emergency passes with a vote of 7-0. We'll now vote on the passage.
Councilmember Herniman.
Yes.
Kaler.
Yes.
Jones.
Yes.
Reesner.
Yes.
Snee.
Yes.
Thacker.
Yes.
And Hayes.
Yes.
Ordinance 24-3 passes with a vote of 7-0.
Ordinance number 2024-4, introduced by Cheyenne Thacker, an ordinance authorizing participation in the ODOT road salt contracts awarded, or the city administrator to competitively bid for the purchase of road salt.
Thank you. This is the first reading of ordinance 24-4.
Ordinance number 2024-5, introduced by Cheyenne Thacker, an ordinance authorizing and directing the Board of Control to enter into an agreement with a professional design firm for preparation of the engineering and design and construction, administration, and inspection services for the Eastland Park Sewer Rehabilitation Project and declaring an emergency.
Thank you. This is the first reading of ordinance 24-5. Councilmember Thacker.
I move for immediate passage of ordinance 24-5, suspending council's 3 reading rule.
Thank you. There is a motion for suspension of council's 3 reading rule and immediate passage of ordinance 24-5. Is there a second? Councilmember Horniman. Thank you. There's a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? Councilmember Thacker.
This is regarding some updates that need to happen in the Eastland Park sewer area. It seems like by lining this area, potentially we're going to save the city some money, but also extend the life of the sewer that's already there, hopefully.
Thank you. Any other discussion? Okay, seeing none, we will first vote on the suspension.
Councilmember Herniman.
Yes.
Kaler.
Yes.
Jones.
Yes.
Reesner.
Yes.
Snee.
Yes.
Thacker.
Yes.
And Hayes.
Yes.
Suspension passes with a vote of 7-0. We'll now vote on the emergency.
Councilmember Herniman.
Yes.
Kaler.
Yes.
Jones.
Yes.
Reesner.
Yes.
Snee.
Yes.
Thacker,
Yes.
and Hayes.
Yes.
Emergency passes with a vote of 7-0. We'll now vote on the passage.
Councilmember Herniman,
Yes.
Kaler,
Yes.
Jones,
Yes.
Reesner,
Yes.
Snee,
Yes.
Thacker,
Yes.
and Hayes.
Yes.
Ordinance 24-5 passes with a vote of 7-0.
Ordinance number 2024-6, introduced by Kevin Reesner. An ordinance amending Budget Ordinance 23-49 to appropriate $15,000 into the general fund.
Thank you. This is the first reading of ordinance 24-6. Councilmember Reesner.
I move for immediate passage of ordinance 2024.6, suspending city council's 3-reading rule.
Thank you. There's a motion for suspension of council's 3-reading rule and passage of ordinance 24-6. Is there a second? Councilmember
second that
Thacker.
motion.
Thank you. There's a motion and a second. Any discussion? Okay, seeing none, we will first vote on the suspension.
Councilmember Herniman,
Yes.
Kaler,
Yes.
Jones,
Yes.
Reesner,
Yes.
Snee,
Yes.
Thacker,
Yes.
and Hayes.
Yes.
Suspension passes with a vote of 7-0. We'll now vote on the passage.
Councilmember Herniman,
Yes.
Kaler,
Yes.
Jones,
Yes.
Reesner,
Yes.
Snee,
Yes.
Thacker,
Yes.
and Hayes.
Yes.
Ordinance 24-6 passes with a vote of 7-0.
Ordinance number 2024-7, introduced by Kevin Reesner, an ordinance amending Budget Ordinance 23-94 to appropriate $28,998.03 into the Street Maintenance Fund and $4,670.53 into the Park and Recreation Fund.
Thank you. This is the first reading of ordinance 24-7. Councilmember Reesner.
I move for immediate passage of ordinance 2024-7, suspending city council's reading rule.
Thank you. There is a motion for suspension of council's 3-reading rule and passage of ordinance 24-7. Is there a second? Councilmember Thacker.
I'll second that motion.
There's a motion and a second. Any discussion? Councilmember Reesner.
I'd like to express my gratitude to the AMVETs for their donations related to this ordinance.
Thank you. Any other discussion? Seeing none, we will first vote on the suspension.
Councilmember Herniman,
Yes.
Kaler,
Yes.
Jones,
Yes.
Reesner,
Yes.
Snee,
Yes.
Thacker,
Yes.
and Hayes.
Yes.
Suspension passes with a vote of 7-0. We'll now vote on the passage.
Councilmember Herniman,
Yes.
Kaler,
Yes.
Jones,
Yes.
Reesner,
Yes.
Snee,
Yes.
Thacker,
Yes.
and Hayes.
Yes.
Ordinance 24-7 passes with a vote of 7-0.
Ordinance number 2024-8, introduced by Kevin Reesner. An ordinance amending the 2024 Budget Ordinance 23-94 to appropriate $18,750 into the 0.25% income tax public streets fund and approve a transfer from the 0.25% income tax public streets fund to the OPWC Lone Street Paving Fund.
Thank you. This is the first reading of ordinance 24-8.
Ordinance number 2024-9, introduced by Kevin Reesner, an ordinance amending the 2024 Budget Ordinance 23-94 to appropriate $25,000 into the general administration budget.
Thank you. This is the first reading of ordinance 24-9.
Ordinance number 2024-10, introduced by Kevin Reesner, an ordinance amending the 2024 Budget Ordinance 23-94 to appropriate $25,000 into the City Hall budget.
Thank you. This is the first reading of ordinance 24-10. Councilmember Reesner.
I'd like to move for immediate passage of ordinance 2024-10, suspending city council's reading rule.
Thank you. There is a motion for suspension of council's 3-reading rule and passage of ordinance 24-10. Is there a second? Councilmember Jones.
I second it.
Thank you. There's a motion and a second. Any discussion? Councilmember Reesner.
Okay, this one is related to COBRA benefits. This isn't the COBRA. It's identical to the one with COBRA benefits. It's the same amount.
Yeah, same amount of money.
Yeah, this is for the fire department to do the inspection on the floor. And I was just over there, and it definitely needs it. I was downstairs and checked it out myself.
City Administrator.
Yes, thank you. So we are contracting with a engineering firm to have a structural engineering analysis study of the entire building. I solicited bids from a few Ohio-based engineering firms that do this kind of work. We found a company that was able to give us a good price on the entire envelope of the structure, and then potentially go into some materials testing if necessary. So I feel very confident. This is a company that has done work, at least the company that we're looking at, has done work in our area before. So they're familiar with Tiffin, which is great news. But I believe that we'll have a good idea of what's going on in the building, if there's any areas that need to be addressed, that we can begin the process on that.
Thank you. Any other discussion? Okay, seeing none, we will first vote on the suspension.
Councilmember Herniman.
Yes.
Kaler.
Yes.
Jones.
Yes.
Reesner.
Yes.
Snee.
Yes.
Thacker.
Yes.
And Hayes.
Yes.
Suspension passes with a vote of 7-0. We'll now vote on the passage.
Councilmember Herniman.
Yes.
Kaler.
Yes.
Jones.
Yes.
Reesner.
Yes.
Snee.
Yes.
Thacker.
Yes.
And Hayes.
Yes.
Ordinance 24-10 passes with a vote of 7-0.
Ordinance number 2024-11, introduced by Cheyenne Thacker, an ordinance authorizing and directing the city administrator to prepare plans and specifications, advertise for and receive bids, and recommend and execute a contract for the West Market Street and Hopewell Avenue traffic signal repair project.
Thank you. This is the first reading of ordinance 24-11.
And that concludes the legislation.
Thank you. We are now under other business. Councilmember Hayes.
I'd like to announce a Personnel and Labor Relations Committee meeting on Monday, January 22nd, to take place here in City Chambers at 5:15 p.m. The primary business will be to discuss Mayor's request for legislation 24-06 and any other business that comes before the committee.
Thank you. Councilmember Thacker.
I would just like to confirm that none of the Street Sidewalk Sewers Committee folk are asking for Ohio Division of Liquor Control. You're not asking for a hearing on that. That is correct.
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 Great. We will not, I will ask Ann to send our response. And also, I have a Street Sidewalk Sewers Committee meeting at the same time as, immediately following the Personnel Labor Relations meeting on Monday at 5:30 p.m. To discuss Mayor's request for legislation 24-07, 08, 09, and any other business that comes before that committee.
Thank you. Is there any other business to come before council this evening? City Administrator.
Thank you. I know that we all wanted to stick around just a little bit longer, so I thought I'd bring something up. I have the tonnages, the total tonnages that Rumpke collected in 2023, and I wanted to share that with City Council. So for the year ending in 2023, Rumpke collected 5,368.98 tons of municipal solid waste, that is garbage, for lack of another term on that. They also collected, in addition, 941.40 tons of recyclables. So that is on both of, or on the recyclables side, actually an increase in number of recyclables they collected from the year previous, and a slight decrease from 2022, where 5,340.82 tons were collected. So, you know, for those who, you know, look at those numbers, I think it's always good to see a little bit higher numbers in our recycling and some dipping in the solid waste that go to the landfills. For everyone's information, just as a reminder, our contract with Rumpke was approved last year, and that goes through March of 2028. And we did have a wonderful visit a couple years back. Some of the folks who were in this room were able to attend. We did a visit at one of the recycling centers that Rumpke has in Columbus. I know they have since done some major investment in that. If council's ever interested, I know that Rumpke would love to have us again. So always something to think about, maybe not this year, but in the future, if anyone's interested in doing so.
Thank you. Any questions for the City Administrator? Okay, is there any other business to come before council this evening? Okay, seeing none, we can adjourn. Thank you.